actually from the very site that the clinic was located in. So let me just, I'm not going to go into too many details, but just wanted to let you know how the categorizations were then done. So I picked a couple of sample patients, and I just want to walk through real quickly what these patients looked like and how we then categorized them. So one patient was a female, 33 years of age, who was from zip code 985, who had been an authorized patient for 2.13 years. She suffered from HIV peripheral neuropathy, which is a disease of nerve pain that HIV patients commonly get. She was diagnosed with HIV in 1999, exposure by unprotected sex. She also had fibromyalgia, and so these were her diagnoses. And I collected information about what kind of medical marijuana-specific information was available. So she used 2 ounces of cannabis per month, etc., and that it relieved her pain from a score of 7 or 8 out of 10 to 2 or 3 out of 10. And it also noted if she had any problems with medications, other medications, or any other side effects or other issues related to medicines. So it was noted that she did not tolerate opiate narcotics, which made her nauseated and worsened her appetite, and that she was allergic to morphine in general. And it also noted whether she had any major issues related to access. So this patient apparently had been involved in a legal altercation for possession of marijuana, and that her authorization was no longer valid and she was facing legal problems as a result. Other patients included like a 22-year-old male, 101.8 authorized years, who had chronic back pain and a history of spinal compression fractures from a snowboarding accident at White Pass, where he came down on his right shoulder and had immediate excruciating pain. He had also undergone surgical fusions in the spine, in certain areas, specific areas in the spine, and he had a poor tolerance to opioids, and a partner doctor in the clinic would not authorize his medical use. And a third patient, 65-year-old male, 3 years of authorized length, who had a debilitating terminal illness called Lou Gehrig's disease, or called ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which is a chronic neurological progressive condition. And pain and was the primary pain and appetite were the primary reasons that this patient was using the cannabis. So, using these histories, this patient has HIV neuropathy pain, fibromyalgia pain. This patient has discogenic pain due to the back pain, T10, T12 fusions, and has myofascial pain, actual tissue damage. And this patient has neuropathic, nerve-related pain. So we did this for all 139 patients at the clinic and come up with this distribution in terms of pain syndromes. 114 patients had myofascial pain syndromes. 89 had neuropathic pain syndromes. 72 had discogenic pain syndromes. 37 osteoarthritis pain syndromes. You get the picture. The patient population was quite ill. I should have mentioned that there actually 14 patients had traumatic brain injuries, and some certain number had gunshot wounds from the Army, military service. So that's why you get that's part of where the myofascial pain syndromes are so highly prevalent in this population. Also, you remember I collected information on access difficulties. 37% of the patients in the sample had difficulties, major hurdles accessing medical cannabis. So I'll take some questions on that at the end, but let me move on to the next study, if you don't mind. Subjective health status of qualifying patients delivered a clonal lot of maturated germplasm. So this study is kind of coming from ecological traditions in medical geography, looking at how people interact with specific biophysical parts of their environment and what kind of health outcomes come from that. So part of that knowledge is you should know that cannabis is basically a part of the United States physical environment. And the reason it's there is because of certain groups throughout the 19th and 20th century introduced drug strains of cannabis. So million Mexican laborers in the first 3 decades of the 20th century introduced drug cannabis. In 1910 in New Orleans, Caribbean and South American sailors introduced drug cannabis, and it went up the Mississippi River in barges called refrigerated barges, so hence the name reefers. East Indian immigrants to California in the first decades of the 20th century introduced cannabis, who had, like their predecessors in the Caribbean, had also introduced in the 1830s that where 500,000 immigrants came and introduced cannabis. So this is all kind of specific cultural, historical moments. This germplasm, this plant genetic resource came into the United States. Also, major pharmaceutical companies like Eli Lilly had production farms. Park Davis and Eli Lilly did a joint venture where they grew cannabis americana on a farm in Rochester, Michigan, to supply the medical market at that time. And there was also mail order catalogs and tea pads and international fairs, et cetera, including the famous 1876 Expo in Philadelphia that had a Turkish hashish emporium. So this is why it's part of the environment, so it's available now, and I can just, you can see here from the pictures that once you find this germplasm in the environment, it's just a matter of maturating, finding the right one and maturating it to an botanical medicine product. So this is just a quick cartoon or representation, picture that took from the internet as well. So what I did is using kind of a purposefully chosen this site, I looked at delivery of this medicine at what I consider a complementary alternative cannabinoid botanical medicine clinic. That would be using the proper medical nomenclature, because this is an alternative complementary system of medicine that's going on. And there were also the group at the NIH that gave me certificates of confidentiality to do this work. So the site I'm going to keep anonymous and unsighted to protect privacy. But you should know that it's been in operation for 2 years, and that 600 patients have been served there since its opening, approximately 250 patients per week. And during the time I did the 4-day study there, 229 patients were served. And this is all information I gleaned from the direct interview with the director of the clinic. 100 Washington physicians' patients have sought treatment delivery there over the course of its time, and currently there's about 20 physicians' patients receiving treatment at the clinic. So what I did is a prospective observational study where linked to the delivery of a lot of maturated germplasm. So on day 1 of the study, a certain lot of this, in this case, 907.18 grams of a locally produced medicine of known strain variety was delivered to the clinic. Over the course of 4 days, it disappeared. But with 13 patients, 25 patients, 29 patients, and 4 patients, including a certain number of repeats, accessing, drawing from that lot. And these circles represent kind of that, are proportional to the actual diminishment of the lot over the course of the 4 days. So the patients were asked who received from that lot, just that particular lot, other lots are available. So just from that lot, they were asked to participate in a survey study. And from these from all of these 5 from the day 1, 14 from day 2, 16 from day 3, and 2 from day 4, for a total of 37 enrolled in the study, which represented 52% of the total patients who drew from that lot. From there, 92% of those patients completed an on-site questionnaire. This questionnaire looked at basic medical history, authorized qualifying conditions, symptom relief. It also looked at what health-related quality of life using standardized validated instruments to see what quality of life these patients have relative to the national and state level populations. And then a certain number of those patients, all the patients were given take-home materials, which included a dosing diary and included some additional health-related quality of life and subjective questions. And 15% of them, of the surveys were returned. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the data from this survey study. Just to note that this, I also found out what the cost over a 4-month cycle would take to actually have delivered a lot of this type of medicine at a facility that was staffed and available, and it was about $47,000. And there was also an additional amount of bits of botanical material that's called shake, which actually has cannabinoids in it, but it was given away for free to 37 other patients who were indigent. But they were not part of the study. So this patient population was 65% male, 35% female, very, very similar to the ratio found at the other clinic. The authorized number of authorized years in the sample ranged from 0.37, which is just a couple of months, to 16 years. Male and female averages were similar, 3.95 versus 3.63 years of authorized use. Age range of the population was very different from male to female. Males were 39, females' median age was 51. And range of annual incomes, and this is similar to the Washington State's average. The average median income in Washington State was $56,000 to $58,000, and in my sample, I need to go back and calculate that, but I think it actually was around between $35,000 and $50,000. So some similar income structure to the population to Washington State. And ethnicity-wise, 65% of the population of the sample was Caucasian, whereas in Washington State, 87% of the population is Caucasian. So